It's another afternoon in Southern Cal, and this sure doesn't feel like work. It's time for interviews, opinions, and your thoughts about your teams. It's Buehler's day off, but she's still working for you. Now your host, Julie Buehler.
Buehler's day off on Team 1010 KXPS. Glad to have you here. Hope you're enjoying your Tuesday afternoon. I know all the Niner fans that listened to the game here on Team 1010 KXPS last night and watched the game with us down at Taco de Ojo last night are certainly enjoying their entire Tuesday. My name is Julie Buehler. Got Jeff Bloom, founder and editor of BeyondDeck.com, in studio with me. We got Big Ben, producer man, on the other side of the glass. Set here to be talking sports for the next 2 hours from noon to 2, and it is a privilege to be here with you to do so today. Jeff, let's start with what happened last night. An absolute demolition of what was considered one of the top teams in the NFC, but I think we saw who really is the top team in the NFC. Battle, as you mentioned, the key to that game is the Texans defensive line versus the Bears offensive line. And Ross Jones, my guest, he's the NFL editor for FoxSports.com, member of Pro Football Writers of America. Ross, when you look at the NFL coming into the season, we knew a couple teams that would be really good, and we knew the teams that would probably stink. The Dolphins, which team in the NFL has surprised you the playoff this season? Because you look at their schedule and how it shapes up, and you see only two teams on the remaining schedule for the Colts that have a winning record. After their victory over the Dolphins, would be making a playoff push. They have that in their sights, and that's something people need to understand. The Colts have the goal of making the playoffs, and nothing short will satisfy them. They see this Jaguar team as nothing more than a roadblock and a little bit of a speed bump. Not even a roadblock, a speed bump. Furthermore, the last time they played, which accounts for the only Jaguar victory on the season, Maurice Jones-Drew rushed for 177 yards and a touchdown. He won't be available. And while I did draft Rashard Jennings in my fantasy football league because I thought Mojo would have a tough season, and I do think that Jennings is a legitimate back in the NFL, I don't think that the Jags have anything to offer, especially with Gabbert's injury, and especially with the idea that Justin Blackmon has woefully underperformed, and Cecil Shorts has been the bright spot of their offense, which is not a positive thing. I'm taking the Colts, and I think they win by at least 2 touchdowns tonight. Over. I think Tampa Bay scores 30 points, and I think the Chargers put up 20. So, because let's remember, the Tampa Bay defense is not what we used to. I mean, this Tampa Bay defense has Warren Sapp rocking himself in the fetal position. This is a terrible Tampa Bay defense that is nothing like what we're used to seeing from the Buccaneers. So, I think the Chargers could put up some points. I would take the over, but that's why we generally disagree on most games. And I think that especially for the Texans franchise, when they've been seen as kind of soft and not really battle-tested, I think this team is. Gary Kubiak voted the most underrated head coach in the NFL. I have to agree with that. I'm going with the Texans this week, my friend, and this game I love. I can't wait for it. Speaking of Sandy, I'm really happy that Mark Hertzleek, a good friend and Giants linebacker, is going to be joining us today. He plays linebacker for the New York Giants. They played Sunday night after a lot of people question whether or not they should play that game in New York. He'll be joining us today to talk about what it looks like now, what it was like watching Sandy rip through the East Coast, and then what it's like now as the towns and millions of people look around to try to reclaim parts of their lives. So, plus, Mark, if that name kind of sounds familiar to you, but you're not too familiar with the linebacking core of the New York Giants, it's probably because you might know Mark's story comes from Boston College. He was an All-American linebacker, a juggernaut in their system, and scheduled to be a top 10 draft pick. Found out he had Ewing sarcoma. It's a bone cancer. He was given the option between, all right, we'll cut your femur out and put a titanium rod there. You'll never play football again, but at least you won't have cancer, and we know that we'll cut it out. Or you can do the chemo, you can do the radiation, you can do the grueling process of ripping that cancer out of your bone that way, and then we'll just infuse a titanium rod in your thigh, and then you can maybe play football again, but don't count on it. He was told that. So here you have this hulking linebacker, all he's ever known is football his entire life, sledgehammer through the face of your dream, and oh, by the way, facing death because of cancer. Kid made it back, fought back, got a titanium rod put in his femur, and then started working out again. Did CrossFit, did a lot of rehabbing, and now I watched him play snap after snap after snap for the New York Football Giants.
Wow.
Has a Lombardi trophy in his, in the locker room, and also has a Super Bowl ring too. As a rookie linebacker, won a Super Bowl with that team. Incredible story.
That is very incredible.
As cool as that story is, the guy is even cooler. So we're going to talk with him at 12:30. The problem with Jay Cutler is he doesn't love to, but he throws a lot of interceptions. And that's a problem in my mind. If you're going to go the route of the big defense, big running attack, you need a quarterback who takes care of the football, who does not make mistakes, which is why I think Alex Smith is a serviceable quarterback. Trent Dilfer with the 2000 Baltimore Ravens took care of the football. He is statistically the worst quarterback to ever have a Super Bowl ring, but he took care of the football, and he didn't turn it over.
Right.
You don't need a guy that's going to go try to make a bunch of big plays. You need your running back, you need your defense to score, and then you need your quarterback to take care of the football. Cutler doesn't necessarily do this. Jeff, this is amazing to me, too. Since 2002, and I was just thinking about this last night, because you look at the Texans, you look at the Ravens, even without Ray Lewis, their offense is incredible, and you look at the Broncos with Peyton Manning. It'll be really interesting because since 2002, when the Raiders were in the Super Bowl against the Buccaneers, there have only been 3 teams in the entire AFC that has represented that conference in the Super Bowl. The Steelers, the Patriots, and the Colts.
Wow.
And you look at them, those 3 teams this season, you look at the Pats, you mentioned, defense lagging behind. The Steelers, Ben Roethlisberger, we don't know the timetable for his return, and their defense has been
so beat up.
A big disappointment. And then the Colts have a rookie quarterback, and as great as the Colts are playing, I don't see them making it through the AFC playoffs.
No, I don't. It's too much to expect.
Right?
First year.
So this could be the first season since 2002 that we have an AFC representative that is not one of the 3 great franchises in the AFC, the Patriots, the Steelers, or the Colts. And of the other 3 teams that would have a playoff position right now, Broncos, Ravens, or Texans, I have to say that the Texans by far are the most complete team, with the Broncos not too far behind, Jeff.
And
their defense is picking it up. The bottom line is the 49ers are the real deal, but not if you look at them through the spectrum of the New England Patriots or the Indianapolis Colts or some of these big giant offenses that have these truly iconic quarterbacks. It's a different type of team, and they are led by a very different head coach. And in the post-game press conference, Jim Harbaugh really not only got the media scratching their heads, but told the story of what it is to be a San Francisco 49er. Wow, it's really risky. This is the season that the Niners need to do something. This is the season that we are counting on, building off an NFC Championship game.
Don't you think, though, if Harbaugh had reservations, that he wouldn't be starting him? He's have every opportunity to put Alex Smith back in.
Oh, sure. Here's the other thing. Dante Whitner, I thought, had a great point when he was talking about Kaepernick. He said that Kaepernick, look, second year in the league, he's the first one in the gym. He's there at 6:30. You don't have to be there till 9 a.m. He's meeting with the defensive players and training and working out first thing in the morning. And then he's doing his job in the film room. And he wrote in his goals before the season that he wanted to be a starter. He wanted to win the Super Bowl, and these were his goals. And he's put the work in behind it to be prepared that when he got this opportunity, he would be successful. And Whitner was laying this out after the game in New Orleans. Dante Whitner laying this out on how Kaepernick has pulled this off. It is not a flash in the pan, according to Dante Whitner. The other thing, we have to get to this because this is huge. We're going to be at the Super Bowl in New Orleans. And last year, I was at the Super Bowl in Indianapolis, worked for the Colts through the 2002 and 14 season. And it was stunning how you look at this franchise. Jeff, no team in NFL history has won more games in a single decade than the Colts did between 2000 and 2009. One of the most consistent franchises in the NFL. All of a sudden, the same year they happen to host the Super Bowl is the year they happen to lose their franchise quarterback who had not missed a start in his career. So it was just this weird collision of circumstances that is ridiculous. Yeah. Well, then you look at the year before. And the Cowboys hosting the Super Bowl in Jerry's World. And everyone's so excited because this could be a team that could host the Super Bowl and play in it. They have the talent. They have the pedigree. They are coming off an 11-5 campaign. 2010 was not kind to the Cowboys. They went 6-10 that season and face planted. Watched, of all teams, the Green Bay Packers, a 6 seed, win the Super Bowl in Jerry's house. So this is serious, Jeff.
Yeah.
It's the Super Bowl.
It's got some traction
curse.
to it, yeah.
And then you look at this season.
The Saints.
The New Orleans Saints coming off a 13-3 campaign. Everyone's excited to have New Orleans host the Super Bowl because it had to be resurrected after Katrina. It's a great story what the Saints have done in that city. And then this offseason, they have this disastrous bounty case. Their GM is suspended. Their head coach gets bounced. They have an interim head coach. Then they get off to an 0-4 start.
It's the curse.
It's the Super Bowl.
Where are they playing
curse.
next year? So I'm going to go put odds on that team right now that they're not winning the Super Bowl.
Well, if Jets fans think
Oh,
it's
it's in
bad
New York
now,
next year?
it's in New York next year. Wait until the Super Bowl curse pummels your franchise.
Wouldn't that be